it's getting smoother day by day. Yeah. So now I can actually feel present. Saying that, I'm just going to get some water. Bye.
I'm going to get the video up, and I need to share my screen. And then shall I start letting people in?
Yeah, please do.
Alrighty.
Catalyst 2030 started life as a WhatsApp group among social entrepreneurs, connecting to envision real transformational change. Launched at the World Economic Forum in January 2020, it's grown into a global movement accelerating change to ensure the SDGs are reached by 2030. Fueled by passion, our 550 members working in 175 countries have collectively put in an amazing 50,000 volunteer hours, touching the lives of 2 billion people. And we're driven by values, to which we hold ourselves accountable. 2020 was a busy year, co-creating 3 reports with partners and producing one of our own. Inviting high-level guests to participate in the Catalysing Change campaign, hosting fireside chats and expert hours, which will be continuing in 2021. To celebrate our achievements, together we placed our supporters in the limelight with the first Catalyst 2030 Awards for Systemic Change. With the blessing of the Dalai Lama, we celebrated finalists and winners in the following categories: special recognition for our early supporters, individual philanthropists, donor organizations, philanthropic intermediaries, corporate organizations, bi- and multilateral organizations, and 4 regional winners in the category of national governments. And now on to Catalysing Change Week 2021. During this social entrepreneur-led event, we bring together diverse stakeholders in over 100 sessions to showcase their systems change efforts and the best practices that can accelerate our work in pursuit of the SDGs.
Hello, everyone. I'm Olivier, and I'm very happy to welcome you to the launch of this Learning for Sustainability Circle, which has been created, for the Youth Empowerment Circle by Learning Planet, created together with Catalyst 2030, and with all the youth-led organization of our networks, and created also with Children in All Policies, CAP 2030. So special thanks also to all the young change makers that have already joined the initiative and who are already helping us at the core of this circle to create a meaning fun initiative. So the 90-minute session that we have will be divided into 2 parts. The first part, during 50 minutes, we will be listening to a series of our guest speakers sharing views about youth empowerment. And the second part of the session, for about 40 minutes, will be about co-creation, about interactions between all of us, and also planning for the future of the initiative. So we will start with François Tadei, the co-founder of CRI Paris and of the Learning Planet initiative. And François, could you please tell us a little bit more about why youth empowerment is essential today for our world to thrive, and also why is it important to create a learning a circle around youth empowerment?
Thank you, Olivier. I think we need to empower the youth ever more because today young generations are confronted to a range of very unusual challenges on top of their usual ones, both local challenges and global ones. There is health issues, protections against abuse, environmental threats. They are confronted to these huge challenges that impact their life and their well-being, their present and their future. But they are not sufficiently well prepared by the existing education systems, and they are not recognized as citizens or even as a driving force for better future in most places. So I think it's time to rethink children's rights and the SDGs in the light of these new challenges. And as stated by the WHO UNICEF Lancet Commission, I think it's time to create a global movement for youth empowerment to place youth at the center of all policies. So the creation of this circle is very important in that matter, because how can we do that is essential. We need collaboration at scale. Nothing for us without us, as was stated recently by Adandit Roy Chowdhury from Save the Children in India. We need to create a safe space. I would say even a fractal network of spaces where spaces at all sort of places and dimension should be highly inclusive, not for just a few youth, but for millions of youth, for them to share their views, know about their rights, collaborate together, participate in designs of policies. This is precisely the idea of this circle, inspired by the concept of the middle ground, a space that allows more effective collaborations between on-the-ground youth activists, youth-focused organizations, and the local, national, and international institutions that are the upper ground. And for this fertile middle ground between the upper ground institutions and the underground activities, we need to co-create a circle that should be co-designed and co-led by youth and adults to build on our respective strengths. So I'm really looking forward to hearing all of you and try to build together things that we could not do alone.
Thank you very much, Francois, for setting the stage for this Youth Empowerment Circle. And now I would be very happy to welcome Bethany Jennings. Bethany, you are part of CAP 2030, an initiative which was launched very recently on 21st of April, that focuses a lot on the issues around the health of children around the world. So please tell us a little bit more about CAP 2030, your core priorities, as well as the reason why you've agreed and to join us in designing and creating the Youth Empowerment Circle. Bethany, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It's a real privilege to be with you, and yes, such an exciting event, so thank you. Yeah, Children in All Policies 2030, or CAP 2030, is an initiative to place children's health and well-being in all policies. We aim to implement the recommendations of the WHO UNICEF Lancet Commission report, A Future for the World's Children, published last year, and we're supported by the Children's Investment Fund Foundation. We have an amazing global network of partners who share our mission of protecting children's health and well-being for building coalitions, following the science and advocacy. So the way that we're organizing our work is through three main goals. The first is to support programs in countries to place children at the heart of all policies. So we're bringing stakeholders across sections to coordinate action in focus countries. So as you said, we're very young, and this is our formative year. And we've already formed partnerships in Argentina, France, Ghana, India, Nepal, the Pacific Islands, Senegal, South Africa, and Sweden. And you can see the countries highlighted on the map there. And we recognize that no country is doing enough for children or their future. And I think that's really reflected in the diverse partnerships that we've built up. So some of the different things that our partners are doing in Argentina, our partners are leading a cross-sectoral initiative to map needs and bring together advocates. In Nepal, our partners are working with children to document climate change and other things that are important to them. And in Senegal, we're partnering with health workers to look at the first 1,000 days of a child's life and how they can improve outcomes. So it's really exciting to partner with these different organizations, and some really exciting work happening through them. Our second goal is to amplify children's voices on the global climate emergency. And then we're exploring ways to partner with children and youth and to support their goals and to amplify their voices. And we're supporting policymakers with data evidence on impacts and solutions. And then our third goal is to fight commercial marketing and exploitation of children. So we know that children are targeted by powerful companies with harmful marketing campaigns, and these might be for unhealthy food or alcohol or even gambling apps. And so we'll work with civil society to amend international treaty law and work and support national legislation that protects children. So we're bringing together experts in their fields and to working groups to find solutions for some of the greatest challenges that children face. And in all our goals, we want to partner with others to build up effective networks and to bring about essential change. And so, yeah, I'm really, as I said, really excited to be here. And what I hope to get from this youth empowerment circle is to make connections, to listen and to learn, and to really be inspired by the work that's happening around the globe and the changes that are happening. So thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. I would like to invite everyone to have a look at the Cap2030 website. You'll find the link in the chat very soon, and also to read the A Future for the World Children's Report, which has been a very strong source of inspiration for our teams when thinking of designing this learning circle for youth empowerment. So please go ahead. And when you were talking about being inspired by by conversations and to listen to on-the-ground players and youth leaders, well, now we are happy to welcome for 10 minutes Emer Beamer and Soham Pal, who were in the first session. We had a first session on Tuesday, and we had very many youth voices whom we've been listening to, who have been contributing to telling what they expect from such a circle, what are their needs, what are the barriers that they're facing, what are their hopes. And so without further suspense, I will ask Emer and to start sharing some of the key lessons of this first session, together with Soham, and they will share the floor for 10 minutes. Thank you very much in advance.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here and indeed share some of the findings from the first session. And I'm going to do that together with Soham. And we're going to take turns. So first, to tell you the organizations that were involved collaborating. So they were Diksha from India, Youth by Youth, who's global, working in a number of countries. Dream a Dream, also from India. My own organization, Designathon, and Learning Planet here. And then, of course, in the context of Catalyst 2030. Over to you, Soham.
So, welcome everyone, and the youth panel speakers in the last session were Eliza Reinbergs from Youth by Youth, Harshita from Dream a Dream, Soham Pal, myself from Diksha, and Vel Kharaji from Designathon Works. Also, we had a speaker, Mr. Amindit Chaudhary, Director Programs and Policy, Save the Children India. So, over to you, Iman.
Thanks. So maybe I'll scroll down on the slide as well. Thank you so much. So after we listened to the different young youth representatives from each organizations, we went into breakout rooms. And the questions that we were looking at are the two you see at the top of the screen. So which global causes or issues or SDGs are most important to you and why? And what are, in your context, the barriers that hinder young people tackling these global issues? And we had some 100 participants, a good half of them were youth, quite intergenerational and from all geographies, working on those questions. And thanks to Edward, who synthesized all the notes from the breakout rooms. And these are the keywords.
So the keywords that came up during our discussion in the breakout rooms were activism, climate, weight, dream, education, game, mental health, inequalities, intergenerational wisdom, mentorship, permission to dream, rights, train skills, spaces, and sustainability. So
And
the quotes that came up in the last session. So over to you.
thanks, Sriram. So we have documented below, and you'll get the link to this document, but these 3 quotes quite struck a chord. So they were from Paramita, from the founder of Diksha, saying, moving forward together to make our young leaders take the lead and lead us adults. So the children and the youth leading adults towards a more inclusive, pluralistic and sustainable world, free from hierarchies and inequalities. And mentioned before, Anandit from Save the Children, short and to the point, nothing for us without us. A really good quote.
And we not only that, we also had a very interesting quote from Vel Kharazi from Designathon. My advice to young people is to become aware of the most essential thing they have, which is to be creative and be open-minded. Please use this essence to help make the world a better place, helping others the way we help ourselves. So the causes and the issues that came up will be told by email.
Thanks, Soham. So these are the issues, the causes that were brought forth by each of the breakout rooms, or at least synthesized as to these were the topics that young people really want to see on the agenda. So they were skills and education, mentorship and intergenerational collaboration. So young people really want to collaborate and be mentored. Permission to dream, game and create. I guess that speaks for itself to an extent. Facing climate change and existential threat, especially for our younger planet members. Physical and mental health, tackling inequalities, youth and child protection against all kinds of violence and abuses, because of course you can't dream and act and contribute if you're not safe. And youth participation in institutional decision making. Soham.
As has been shared in the link in the chat, you will find the document will show some of the very interesting points that came up while discussing these causes and issues that came up during the breakout room discussion. And you will just be able to see that how these causes will be are affecting the youth empowerment in today's world, and what are the barriers which are hindering the youth from going forward to making the world a much better place, and definitely some of the keywords that came up in this discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Soham. So I understand from Learning Circle, we're going to be building on this document in this session as well, and in sessions following up. And I find it really insightful to co-create issues and needs from young people in this way. So handing back to you, Olivier.
Thank you very much, Emer. Thank you very much, Soham, for your overview of the discussions. I also invite everyone to go into the details. There are very rich insights, very inspiring insights, meaningful into this document that was prepared with Ed and quite a few members of the team that I thank for their work since yesterday. That's great. What an incredible initiative. You can definitely count on me. These are the kind words that Sandrine Dixon de Clève, co-president of Club de Rome, wrote to us where we invited her to join our conversation. So it is now my pleasure to invite Sandrine to share her view and perspectives on youth empowerment. Sandrine, please.
Thank you so much, Olivier and so on. And the conversation that I have just heard is clearly leading me very nicely to what I wanted to say. And I'm really sorry that I can't be with you for more of your discussions. I'm not someone who likes to just come into a conversation and think that I'm important enough that I can just leave right afterwards. First of all, this conference and this exchange is fundamental. It builds on what the Club of Rome has been doing for the last 50 years, which is trying to enhance a discussion and dialogue around the importance of people, planet, and prosperity. And the youth and your concerns are fundamental, not only because you are this and the next generation, but also because we all know that we have to, all of us, co-design the future. And what I just heard in terms of your calls for skills and education, for your need for mentorship, for your permission to dream, facing climate change and understanding the complexities of climate change and also the convergence of tipping points between biodiversity loss, the pandemic, and climate change, the fears as well as the opportunities. Mental health, and in fact with Olivier and others we discussed, and Francois, the importance of being there to support all of us who are trying to make sense of what is happening to people and planet at the same time. And how can we find more thinking around emergence rather than settling into despair? How can we shift to those opportunities rather than thinking about all the risks and the difficulty and the complexities? How can we find that balance? And one of the words that I really like to express is the fact that, at least for us at the Club of Rome and the work that I'm doing now with policymakers and also with other young people, is the fact that we have to find ways to emerge from emergency. And we know that we have the solutions. What we need to do together, and what I'm hoping young people will understand, is we hear you. We hear you so loudly, and you are right to be pissed off. You are right to say to us as adults, what the hell did you do? But part of the book that I've just written, actually, which is an intergenerational dialogue with two of the wonderful women from Fridays for the Future movement, was also about trying to explain what we did do that was good. Some of us who have been involved in the movement for many, many years, trying to do the right things, and where we got it wrong. So that we can have, instead of a naming, shaming, and blaming game between those of us who are really trying to make a difference, we instead try to understand what we did wrong and what we can do better. Learn from each other so that we truly can co-create that future that we're hopeful for. So yes, shifting the educational system, making campuses vibrant places for learning, making schools vibrant places for learning so that young people can be the leaders of tomorrow, and so that we can also unpack the tensions and the complexities of the world before us. Yes, ensuring that we influence business leaders, and that those of you that are going into the workforce find jobs that are interesting, thriving, but also don't back away from some of those jobs that are going to be more difficult. From moving into the energy sector, I've been speaking to engineers who have been saying, we want our school system to be absolutely future-proof. We want the way in which we learn to enable us to be the solution providers of the future. And then clearly, how can we put in place the structures that all young people need right now to face this convergence of tipping points, so that they do feel mentored, so that you do feel that you have the support that you need in order to get through all of these difficult times. So I guess I would say that's why I think that this is such a fantastic initiative, that the Club of Rome definitely supports it, and we are a partner, but also myself, having young daughters who are young adults who want to really make sense of the world, and working with them and so many other young people to try to figure out how we really can do this together. So I'm just really pleased to be here. I can stay a bit longer if there's any questions or an exchange or some thoughts. Maybe just one last thought, and I know you're calling in from all over the world. We had a summit of about 900 young students from across the globe coming from universities, and I was really struck by their alarm bells around the number of people that are dropping out of school, the number of students that are not finding fulfillment in knowledge. And that is difficult. And that is something that we need to figure out. And I know with Francois and Olivier and others, hopefully we can really work on the type of educational system that we need that not only fosters knowledge, but also fosters real life exchange and understanding of the complexities at hand. So I'm really hopeful that there will be some incredible learnings and outcomes from this exchange that you're leading, and look forward to continuing to participate in whatever way possible, both myself personally, but also other members of the Club of Rome.
Sandrine, thank you very much for these inspiring words. You've been talking about this intergenerational dimension and this need to better understand and listen to each other. One of the reasons for the circle also is really to have a better, more effective way for all these youth leaders, activists, youth-led organizations and youth-focused organizations to work in a more efficient way with institutions from around the world. And we see that there's also some interest from institutions to join and to be able to enter into this dialogue in a more efficient way, but also for real impact. And it's great to have your support from the very early stage of the circle, this Youth Empowerment Circle and the Learning for Sustainability Circle. We are now, I don't know, as I know that you have to leave, if there's one question in the chat or one person who would like to ask one question to Sandrine, please go ahead. Otherwise,
Olivier, I'll also answer you, and then whoever would like to ask a question. But yes, I mean, I think that strategic and optimized engagement of all of our networks is fundamental. This is a decade of action if we want to get things done. We are in emergency, that's clear. And maybe what we can do is, you know, I'm working with a series of youth networks also through the UN Food System Summit. And the reason I have to go is because we have a public forum that I need to chair. Otherwise, I'd be with you. Young people from across the globe that also through the COVID crisis were ensuring that people were getting access to food. I mean, incredible women in Yemen and other African countries that were there on the front lines to make sure that young people were actually working with older people to make sure they had access to what they needed. So young people have been fundamental in securing more access to food, to life's essentials during the crisis. And I think that is also something that we need to make more prevalent. We need to exchange some of these incredible case studies around this transformational time of COVID and use it as an example of how solidarity can really bring people together, and that we can strategically optimize all of our efforts to make a difference.
Thank you very much, Sandrine. So I think now we'll move to the next stage of this conversation, and we are very happy to welcome other exemplary youth change makers. So very many of them spoke in the first session, and now we have a series of 5 or 6 other youth contributing with their own vision and their stories and their engagement to the session. So let me first invite Almaaz Mudaly. She's a student at the Roden School in South Africa, and she's also a high school liaison for the Youth Climate Action Plan, which will resonate with the Club of Rome for sure. So please, Almaaz, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. I would just like to say thank you for inviting me to the Youth Circle today. It's such a treat for me to be part of such an important initiative. I've had the great privilege of working with key decision makers on both local and global levels in order to further the youth climate agenda. And I'm really looking forward to working with everyone today. I would like to take you through some of the great work that the youth in South Africa are doing in crafting our first ever Youth Climate Action Plan. Our first Joburg Youth Climate Action Plan even made it onto the agenda of the National Climate Action Plan of South Africa. We are under stringent timelines to finalize both the YCAP, which is the Youth Climate Action Plan, and our implementation strategy for the YCAP by September this year in time for COP26. Being involved in policy on a provincial and national level, the youth often submit declarations and resolutions to government. These declarations and resolutions tackle our main issues such as food insecurity, a just green transition, climate change, education, and health, just to name a few. Through this process, we have had to read and understand many South African policies and its interrelatedness. but we have come to the realization that policy is heavily flawed and outdated. We get the best drafters and the greatest think tanks to draft these policies, but actual implementation very often fails. So often policy drafters who regulate companies have never actually worked in a company and only offer their own perspective on issues, which doesn't allow for multilateral and inclusive policy. So the youth have set out to draft South Africa's first youth climate action plan, fostering a holistic and inclusive approach, and it will also provide a clear implementation strategy. South Africa has a proud heritage of youth activism, starting way back in our history when we were under apartheid rule. In fact, Nelson Mandela was a youth freedom fighter back in his days, and the youth of 1976 laid down their lives for what they believed in. Youth have a strong and powerful voice. The fact that big companies are targeting us with their advertising, it must mean that they want something from us and we have a high level of influence. The YCAP process began in April with discussions among youth in a youth leadership program. We found that when we, the youth, speak to one another, we speak simply and we can make a complex matter simple. This creates a sense of hope and unity, which is exactly what we need to solve the climate crisis. Climate change is a very complex issue, and we have to create a message of unity and hope to solving the climate crisis, rather than only focusing on the apocalyptic scenarios that paralyze us into inaction. Back to the Youth Climate Action Plan, we're now moving into our planning and strategizing phase, and it teaches us so much. I find that climate change has thrust us as youth to become very mature and not just criticize, but criticize in a constructive manner and offer workable solutions that we are prepared to roll up our sleeves and implement. One of our guiding principles for the Youth Climate Action Plan is to make sure everyone has a voice in the final document. And we also have this big guiding principle of no child left behind, and to mobilize youth from the grassroots level up. For example, I'm the high school liaison for the Youth Climate Action Plan, and I'm responsible for making sure high school students from all socioeconomic backgrounds are included. And one of the challenges we face is, how do you get everyone's voices heard? And we realized that the only way was to go on a roadshow and to teach people about climate change, because those that don't understand will inevitably be followers and can't truly contribute and lead the agenda that will heavily affect their future. We have to make sure that the structure is simple and easy to understand. For example, we're planning to launch an initiative for school-based food gardens. And how do you get the simple message out that if you use artificial fertilizers, you degrade the soil, and long-term sustainability of growing plants is jeopardized, and that short-term gain is bad and sustainability is what we're looking for. And I think this initiative will practically demonstrate this concept. Our experience as youth in South Africa, and whenever I interact with my global peers, is one of optimism that we can solve the climate crisis. And I see that in all the initiatives that are going on in South Africa and mentioned today in the webinar. We just need to maintain the pressure on government and work hard as the youth. Our Youth Climate Action Plan is really building up momentum with funding from organizations such as the European Union. And I'm happy to share in more detail our experiences, and we'll really appreciate your input. I will put my contact details in the chat box along with the recent article on the Youth Climate Action Plan. And I encourage you to check out and tweet with the hashtag Youth Are Leading, because we aren't only the leaders of the future, we're leading today too. Thank you.
Almaaz, thank you so much. I mean, it's the third time I have the pleasure of listening to you, and each time I'm very, very impressed. Very impressed also by the key lessons that you share with us. But I think these are many guiding principles that we will need to apply to the circle we are co-designing together. The inclusive dimension is absolutely key, reaching to everybody, not designing any program or any kind of activity that is not inclusive of all the beneficiaries and everyone's voice and viewpoints. Thank you very much for your incredible views and sharing. And now it's my pleasure also to have with us Sagarika Sriram. She's the founder of Kids for a Better World, and she's also a student in Dubai. So Sagarika, a great welcome to you too.
Hi, I'm Sagarika. I live in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and I run my own environmental organization. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about that and what we're doing. And I also just wanted to say great job to Almaaz. I found your story so inspiring, and it's really great to see other youth members doing such great things. So youth empowerment is simply the realization that each one of us has the power to drive the solution to the challenges faced by our generation. By finding voices and taking decisive action, we can create a universe of change makers who think, act, and live sustainably. The time is now. My name is Sagarika. I live in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and my organization, Kids for a Better World, is a Kids for Kids online platform that connects young children to drive sustainability projects in their own communities. But children can't be expected to commit to SDGs when they don't fully understand the issues that threaten our planet. Education is at the heart of what we do at Kids for a Better World, and we focus on SDGs 4, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And are hugely driven to build awareness and understanding among children about the SDGs and climate action through fun sustainability workshops, recycling and waste management projects, tree planting drives, and etc. Our belief is that children must adopt sustainability as a way of life in order to create a long-lasting environmental and social impact. Since the UAE places great emphasis on mandatory school education, we are engaged with NGOs to drive systemic change and influence policymakers in our country to include climate education across all school curriculums in the UAE. Our main aim is to engage young people to care about the environment and then motivate them to change their behavior and live sustainably. At Kids for a Better World, we view climate action as the greatest responsibility of our generation. Through a unique incentive scheme created by us called the Green Card, children who are Kids for a Better World members earn points for their eco activities, such as recycling, reducing single-use plastic, saving water and energy at home, in order to redeem instant rewards. This system motivates children and rewards behavioral change as they learn to track their progress against defined goals. By conducting workshops at schools, Kids for a Better World promotes its projects and encourages children to become eco-warriors. Our organization has included Children of Determination, creating workshops specially designed for them to help them participate in protecting the environment. As we move towards listening and learning with key stakeholders, and we make our own voices heard, it is so important for us to connect with more young people across the globe and collaborate wherever possible. We're excited to be a part of the Youth Empowerment Circle to drive our energies as a collective, to take action and drive accountability for the SDGs. As a member of Learning Planet, we look forward to realizing our vision for the future, where every child is empowered to love the earth, understand its threat, and educate to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sagarika. Just one quick word to say that we will have the opportunity in the breakout rooms to meet with all of our youth speakers today and maybe ask more questions and get to know them a bit more. And please also ask them directly questions in the chat. We will try to address them, and anyway we will follow up, and each of them will follow up on the questions you may have about their initiatives. So thank you very much for this. And now I'm welcoming Kenneth Kwok for Kids for SDGs after Kids for a Better World, and Kenneth Kwok, sorry, is here with two other speakers, Alvin Wong and Alex Lee. But Kenneth, I'll leave you the floor to organize your presentation of Kids for SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I mean, first of all, I am not a youth. I have to make that very clear. My name is Kenneth, and I'm so honored to be here today. I have two amazing high school students. The first who will present is Mr. Alex Lee, then Mr. Alvin Wong will follow. But before that, a little bit about Kids for SDGs. Yes, you see a lot of titles on this slide. You know, none of this matter, because what's the point of having titles and privileges and knowledge if you do not help support the next generation to make more informed decisions? So for myself, you know, I'm very grateful and honored that I, work within United Nations ecosystem through a few companies I've invested in or have co-founded. I'm also recognized by the World Economic Forum for being an uplink innovator and a global innovator, and I'm on the Youth Council of the World Humanitarian Forum. What Kids4SDGs do essentially is I take the amazing resources I get access to and I share it with youth. And we do it for a very simple principle called the 137 principle, where you first identify one area of thought leadership, followed by 3 areas of innovation, and finally 7 stakeholders to support you. All right, that's it. I'm done talking. I would now love to welcome Alex Lee to speak a little bit about his personal SDG ambitions. Hello, Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I'm Alex, and I'm very grateful to Catalyst 2030 for giving me this opportunity to talk about autism awareness in youth. Next slide, please. So firstly, a little bit about who I am. I'm the founder of Andy Autism Individuality, and I'm a student at Harrow UK, although I'm currently based in Hong Kong. I'm passionate about sports and music, and I enjoy spending my free time playing the violin or playing tennis with friends. Next slide, please. So back to the problem that I'd like to address today. So there's a lack of awareness about the wide spectrum of autism in children, as it cannot be easily seen whether someone is autistic. If someone is physically disabled, it is immediately obvious. If someone is Black, you can also see it, unless you're colorblind. ASD patients are not nearly as noticeable unless they are severely autistic. However, these patients are only the tip of the iceberg that most people see, and autism is actually a much wider spectrum that affects many more people than many people think. There are currently an estimated 25,000 autistic children in Hong Kong, and the lack of aid from the government prevents teachers and adults learning about the spectrum to aid the learning of these autistic children. Next slide, please. So how do I plan on solving these issues? So improving education about those impacted, how it impacts them, and how we can make them feel more accommodated is a crucial first step to help them solve a problem. It will make them feel more included and treated in a more appropriate way. This solution will educate the youth in a society who have the most power in changing societal problems like these. Currently, only around 30% of children in Hong Kong are aware of how autism can impact the daily behavior of an ASD patient, such as management issues or poor concentration. There's also a gap in Hong Kong, and AAI hopes to fill this by launching a campaign to increase education on ASD matters in schools. I'm planning on giving talks to my school when I return in September about autism awareness, starting with my year group of around 160 students, then continuing with the rest of the school of a total of about 800 people. Afterwards, I would like to continue this in other schools in the UK and in Hong Kong. Next slide, please. So you might be interested in why I'm personally interested in this cause. So my younger brother, as you can see on the right-hand side, is severely impacted by ASD, and growing up with him has made me learn a lot about ASD and how it impacts children. Fortunately, he has the privilege of attending one of only 42 schools suitable for autistic children, which has helped him feel much more accommodated in his school life. He struggles to communicate with others and has often put my family in difficult situations in public, but through our experiences, I believe that I can use some of my knowledge gained from firsthand experiences to solve this problem in our world. About a year ago, my brother was leaving school, going back home, when he went up to a lady and decided to smell her hair, as he's very sensitive to smell. Of course, due to his ASD, he didn't understand that this isn't something he can do. The lady became very agitated and decided to call the police. This clearly shows that a lot of people don't understand ASD patients. My mother got very, very distressed. And she was struggling to stay calm herself while controlling my brother, as he was also getting increasingly frustrated, not understanding why he was being questioned by the police and not allowed to leave. I believe that I can use some of my knowledge gained from firsthand experiences like these to solve this problem in our world. In addition, my foundation, AAI, is also supported by Youth Changemaker Incubator, an organization which is committed to achieving these goals. I firmly believe that by youth, for youth actions like these is what will create a movement. Next slide, please. So the values of this. Enhancing education to children about ASD would be valuable to all. Firstly, autistic children will be treated by their peers more appropriately and will therefore feel more accepted. This in turn will also ease some of the worries of the parents of those impacted by ASD, as they will have more confidence that the child is being given the right attention while at school. Next slide, please. So, a multi-stakeholder approach is needed to catalyze change in ASD. So to the youth audience, please reach out if you'd like to learn more about ASD and how to help in spreading awareness and helping solve the problem I've addressed today. And to the NGOs, please reach out if you like data or research to aid your programs related to ASD. And finally, to the corporate audience, please engage for input about youth-led issues. Next slide, please. Yes, so thank you for listening. And once again, I would like to thank Catalyst 2030 for this wonderful opportunity to speak at this event. Back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Alex. And every time I hear stories of personal, emotions driving SDG action, I hope that we support youth like Alex achieve his goal, so that in the future, no siblings, no friends will ever have to be in such type of situations. And this is why we're here as part of the Learning Planet's Youth Empowerment Circle, because we have quite a bit of work to do. Next up, again, I'm very honored to welcome Alvin Wong, who will present on another initiative in Hong Kong related to autism. Hello, Alvin.
Hello, Catalyst 2030. My name is Alvin Wong, a high school sophomore at the International Christian School, and I am the founder of March to Your Beat. I am so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm very excited to share my initiative with you. Next slide, please. March to Your Beat provides autistic youth with an opportunity to voice the importance of percussion music therapy in supporting their social interaction. It celebrates individualized music therapy as a positive systemic change, and we strive to recruit an intergenerational community of experts to build a library of solutions and resources for helping autistic children around the world. Next slide, please. So, what is the problem March to Your Beat wishes to solve? Well, over 3% of Hong Kong's youth are diagnosed with autism. This is a significant population. In Hong Kong, youth with autism aren't always given enough special attention and resources to support their academic and social needs. For schools here, students that are diagnosed with moderate to severe autism find it harder to learn and interact with others. Their difficulty is exacerbated during COVID, where these students are distanced from their teachers and have to individually navigate a digital-based learning path. This not only takes a toll on their academic performance, but also on their mental health and well-being. Next slide, please. How does March to Your Beat intend to provide a solution to this? Well, multiple universities have mentioned that drumming for an hour a week leads to improved social interaction and school performance. March to Your Beat offers those with autism a library of resources to harness their academic and social needs through symptom-oriented music therapy. We, as Hong Kong's first youth-led organization in this area, came up with a series of therapy exercises akin to a collection of best practices from our own experiences. Each oriented to treat a particular symptom. Over my many years of playing over 30 percussion instruments, I have designed all those practices into a manual, an easy to follow step-by-step instruction guide for parents and therapists of autistic youth around the world to replicate and facilitate further use. These therapies are therapies that are convenient and easy to facilitate. Parents and therapists who do not have any prior experience with music could easily be able to follow those guidelines to facilitate those therapy sessions. Instruments are often small handheld instruments, which makes these therapies much more convenient. For parents and therapists who do not have access to such percussion instruments, there will always be an alternative listed in the manual, such as the instructions for building simple homemade instruments. Next slide, please. Why choose March to Your Beat? For over a year, parents have trusted March to Your Beat's conditional and situation-based music therapy approaches to support their kids' social needs. Come to think of it, I have been working on March to Your Beat for 2 years now, and I have been thoroughly enjoying this experience because this is a very simple way to make this world just a tiny bit more inclusive. I am humbled by the trust parents and teachers have bestowed on me and will continue to serve them to the best of my ability. As a percussionist, I feel that playing percussion music could improve concentration. Knowing that those with autism may sometimes struggle to concentrate, I want them to reap the same benefits as I did when playing percussion instruments. Therefore, all those therapies I have designed are based on my personal experience on what types of rhythms and tunes benefit the most. Unlike traditional music therapy, which often focuses on similar therapy exercises for all participants, our organization offers music therapy exercises specific to combating individual symptoms. Frankly, that's why we are called March to Your Beat. Each participant is marching to his or her own beat, meaning that they all have their own unique learning pathways. Our jobs as facilitators is to modify and suit our therapies to their personal likings and tastes. Next slide, please. What value does March to Your Beat bring to society? Through March to Your Beat, autistic youth will be able to receive support in their communication skills, motor skills, and attention spans through music therapy. These above skills all require the simultaneous functioning of multiple parts of the brain. Playing percussion instruments stimulates all regions of the brain, causing communication, motor skills, and attention spans to all be developed. In addition to improving these skills, research also suggests that percussion music therapy helps alleviate stress and improve mood. This is crucial to their well-being. By the end of 2021, we hope to make this a Hong Kong-wide initiative, impacting nonprofit organizations and schools around Hong Kong. By the end of 2022, we hope to publish our work and manual internationally, extending the impact around the globe. Next slide, please. To parents out there, if you think that your child will get support to march to their own beat, please contact me to see if March to Your Beat will be the best form of therapy for your child. To educators out there, if you are interested in incorporating this form of therapy in your schools, feel free to contact me for collaboration. To other youth out there, if you are interested in joining this movement to help other youth with autism march to their own beat, please drop me an email. We, as a collective community, need to work together to catalyze change. Next slide, please. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude for Catalyst 2030 for the battle to catalyze change. For more information, you can contact me through email and LinkedIn. Back to you, Kenneth.
Wow, I mean, thank you so much, Alex and Alvin. And just one quick minute wrap up. The two case studies that Kids4SDGs just showcased really highlights that we really need to put the power of innovation into SDG action. Don't underestimate ever the potential and power of even high school students to grapple with technology and innovation to further social change. And again, finally, I myself am very, very grateful, just like Alex and Alvin, to be having the opportunity to speak today at Catalyst 2030's Catalyzing Change Week. I'm Kenneth from Kids4SDGs, and again, thank you so much for your time. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much. Passion, eloquence, and innovation. These are core ingredients that you've been bringing to this conversation. Thank you very much to all of you. We will be in a breakout session in something like 5 minutes, but before this, it is also a pleasure to welcome our last youth change maker, Nidhi, from India, from University of Delhi, and also a member of a study hall educational foundation. Nidhi Kanaujia, the floor is yours.
So much. So at the outset, I would really like to thank everyone and Catalyst 2030 Learning Planet for providing this wonderful opportunity, for giving this platform to youth speakers and listening to my fellow youth leaders and speakers, and listening to their initiatives and innovations really makes me happy, and this has further energized me and inspired me to speak on this occasion today. So hello everyone, I'm Nidhi Kanaujia, and I'm an inspiring youth leader from an underprivileged background from India. And today I'm representing Study Hall Education Foundation, which is an organization working in India, Uttar Pradesh. And today the two sustainable development goals I'll be talking about, and which, am I audible to everyone?
Go ahead, Nidhi, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. So the two sustainable development goals I'll be focusing on, and I have been strongly advocating all this while, is sustainable development goal number 4 and 5, which is on providing education, inclusive and equitable quality education to everyone, and sustainable development number goal 5, which is on gender equality. And I think these two, I particularly focus on these two SDGs because there is some personal touch to it. My eldest sister, she was pulled out of the school from the education system, and she was married off, which later on turned out to be a very oppressive marriage. So I felt that both these issues, education as well as gender, is something I really want to work upon. And having associated with this organization, Study Hall Education Foundation, gave me that platform. I'm also a proud alumni of the same. And inspired by Dr. Urvashi Sahani, who's the founder and CEO of Study Hall Educational Foundation, I too believe in the power of education, and not to just a normal kind of education which is in itself is transformed. We need to move away from the convention system of education and co-create and look forward to having a very transformed education as a tool which can make change in society. And as a proud alumni of Chef family, today I'll be representing their success model of how they have transformed education, which in turn has resulted in transformative life outcomes for young people in India. And here I would like to just briefly tell you about this organization. What do we exactly do? What is Chef? So basically, Chef is an inclusive non-profit organization which is impacting lives of children, particularly those of girls and young women in India. And its intervention, it mostly focuses on community engagements and norm change, influencing government systems to be more equitable, and running a network of model schools and outreach programs in both rural and urban India. And we try to advocate for a lot of social issues, specifically focusing on gender equality and equitable and quality education for everybody. And we also cater to the needs of we try to make it very diverse and inclusive, and we try to cater to the needs of a lot of subsections of the society. We have 7 schools in and around Lucknow, 4 outreach initiatives, and all the Chef schools and outreach initiatives, they focus on building socio-economic consciousness along with following democratic values in our education system, so that we become an aware, active, democratic citizens of this country. So talking about today's topic, which is how how youth perspectives can lead to youth empowerment. I strongly feel that youth can be empowered only once they are first recognized, as in they are just not shunned away from decision-making processes. Their opinions are not just refused or ignored just because they are not part of the leadership. So definitely we need to first recognize the youth voices, which I'm glad that this platforms like these are doing. They are providing us the voice, the space where we can, talk about our initiatives, talk about our ideas. And talking about the education system, there are a lot of flaws because with the today I'll be talking about the youth aspirations which we have from the education system. So definitely we all have agreed that we really need youth leaderships, and we really need youth in the leadership so that we can meet up with youth which aspirations which are very recent, very new, very different from the older ones. So for the same, what I think is the kind of education we need now is that which will lead to the youth empowerment would be not one where the young minds are just filled up with a lot of knowledge, but the kind of empowerment we are looking for is where these knowledge and facts are actually put into use and practice, so that we form the kind of youth which have a well-formed mind and not only well-informed minds. So furthermore, for doing this, we have different strategies, different approaches which we follow here at Chef. And I would really like to share a few of the strategies, approaches, and the pedagogy which we follow. So for instance, that we follow and promote critical feminist pedagogy, which conducts regular critical dialogue sessions, which are basically for girls, which are basically a session, informal dialogues with children, with youth, about their aspirations, what are their needs, their demands, and how do they think of solving the larger problems which they are facing in life. Also, along with that, giving them places, spaces, and platforms to do so. And having such dialogues about their life really helps these young girls, women, and other children to identify and challenge the structures of oppressive power control. So I think the kind of dialogue we are having today will definitely give us, the youth, the power to challenge the existing systems or something we really want to change. Furthermore, I think at Chef we try to give them a safe space through different activities like drama, art, street play, sports, etc. And I think these are necessary. In fact, we should try to give such safe spaces of playgrounds, of drama, of art to every youth, because these are necessary to express all their emotions which otherwise are left unexpressed in four walls of a classroom. So definitely that is one aspect we really need to think about for youth empowerment if we really want a empowered youth. Also, other than that, we run a lot of campaigns for raising awareness on different social issues. And one of the biggest campaigns running at Chef is India's Daughter campaign. And through this, we try to reach out to community to spread awareness about a lot of issues regarding gender and other things as well, regarding sex education, menstruation, how education of a girl or any child is so important. So all these things are being done here at Chef, and they have given a lot of success stories also. So one being me, so I am also a product of Chef only. So I feel really blessed to be part of that family. So I think these are the kind of initiatives which are required. And having talked about myself, my organization, and the kind of work we are doing right now, I also have some just to wrap up my thing. I have few expectations, or I have few we can say what I expect out of this platform would be that if if this platform can give us, the youth, the leadership, they can teach us, they can mentor us, or in fact we can also mentor them. We have seen in this pandemic how youth is actually teaching the older generation on how to get handy with the technology and everything. So it would be mutual mentorship program. It could be providing us the exposure to policymakers, wherein we can suggest the policy suggestions which we think are required, not not only for present but also for future. Other than that, what I expect from youth empowerment circles would be to conduct some sort of leadership workshops or trainings wherein the youth leaders can take up the conduction part and everything. So these are the few things I'm looking for in the upcoming sessions. So that's it, and I feel very blessed and happy to be part of this initiative. And also a huge congratulations to my fellow youth speakers. I'm really inspired and motivated by your work you are doing. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Nidhi, for your energy and sharing all these ideas. It must be very late in India just now, so thank you for all this energy. Please send our best regards to Vashisani from Chef, because she's co-chair education of Catalyse 2030, and we're very happy to work with her. And you've been leading the way, because now we're going to enter probably for 15 minutes. I'll check with Ed, but we're planning 20 minutes, but we're running a bit out of time. We will be entering breakout rooms so that each of us in small groups can get to know each other a little bit more, but also share our expectations and priorities. So you've been sharing your expectations with us already. Please write them down also, or share them again in small groups so that we take note of all of these expectations. And now I give the floor to Ed, maybe if you want to introduce briefly the breakout rooms.
Thank you so much, Olivier, and thank you to all of the speakers. So we will be going into now up to 20 minutes of breakout rooms. I think we can just fit it in. The goal with these is just for the first 10 minutes, you'll each be with a facilitator. The first 10 minutes is just a chance to introduce yourself and maybe share just what motivated you to come here today and join us here. And then we'll go into the second 10 minutes, which is we would love each participant in the group to share one thing that they would expect from this youth empowerment circle. We want to be ambitious here and get as many of your thoughts as possible, given it's a real co-creation. So we will be, feel free to think about that now, and we will certainly be taking down these notes as well. So firstly, introductions, and then we'll go into what each of you expect from this youth empowerment circle. So I will open up the rooms now. If you have any problems at all, don't hesitate to return to the main room, and I'd be very happy to help. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everyone. We couldn't stop talking, and although we had as much time as expected, we were only starting to explore many of the possibilities together. So,
we need session 3.
We need a session 3.
Well, the session 3 is already planned, so we will announce it a bit later. So that's the good point. There will be a session 3 quite soon. But maybe it's Ed, you want to do a little bit of a summary of what has been shared by everybody. We will share all the details, all the notes with everyone, but already a first overview. Thank you, Ed.
With great pleasure. Thank you, Olivier. And sorry if it was quite abrupt at the end, but yes, we will be sharing a link towards the registration for session 3 at the end of this session. Just taking a couple of the really inspiring quotes emerging from the session notes. So Nidhi, thank you for your talk. And you mentioned the energy from other youth speakers. You came here for the positive energy, action-orientated energy and potential to lead on the ground realistic changes. And I think that was a real inspiring call to action. And then thank you, Sagarika, hearing that you started seeing children around you were doing work but they were not passionate about it. And so how can we really bring this passion and the spaces to build this passion of young people? And then seeing that in group 5, speaking about teacher training and understanding what are the anxieties in life and looking into curriculum training and the process of understanding their own kids in a classroom. So maybe a more localized focus there. And just taking a quote from the next group that from Almaaz, the main way to empower is create a movement and mobilize the youth with a key focus on interrelatedness. And we'd love to end with Paramita, one of our amazing co-leads for this circle in session 1, here to listen and learn from young people and really focusing on marginalized youth and giving them the ability to dream. Young people really are the leaders of today. So thank you. And sorry that we couldn't hear from more of you in this summary, but maybe given that some of you will have to jump off very shortly, I will just share 2 key bits of information as calls to action before Olivier and Francois close off the session. So the first one is, if you were there in the first session, you'll have remembered that we did share a questionnaire at the end. We would be really grateful if you could fill this in. It's not just feedback for the facilitation and the speakers, but really it's a space for you to add more thoughts and ideas if you didn't get a chance to express them already, for what you would like to see from this circle, maybe other initiatives. So Tudor will be putting this in the chat now. And the second call to action is, we have our next session of this circle confirmed. It will be on the 1st of June at 3 p.m. CEST. So Tudor is putting the link, the registration link in the chat now. So you can click that link and register already, and you'll see the Zoom link there. So we really hope to see as many of you there as possible. And I will pass on to Olivier to close off. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. So now I would just like to thank all the participants for being with us, to thank all the teams that have been doing incredible work in the preparation of the 2 sessions, the Catalyst 230 team, the Learning Planet teams, but also all of our partners who have been co-creating. It's really been a co-creation process. So it's a good start for this Learning Planet Youth Empowerment Circle, because I would like to thank Dream a Dream and Diksha and Designathon and Kids for SDGs. And we've got, I mean, all the players. Youth by Youth has been with us in the first session a lot. So thank you very much to all of them. There's a slide which has been prepared, but also thanks all the youth leaders of different initiatives. So Kids for a Better World and Chef and all the people who were with us. This is really great. And I don't want to take more time so that we can have a quick conclusion or some closing words by Francois of what do you get out from this meeting. So Francois, I think you can speak on this slide. You're more than welcome, and very quickly we'll shift to you.
Yeah, thanks to all of you. I mean, it was quite an amazing launch. I can't wait for the next sessions because, of course, it was the only problem was that it was too short and frustrating, because we would have loved to hear more and discuss more, all of us, I guess. I was, thrilled by the energy and motivation that we've heard, the diversity of the actions and their complementarity. And in the closer discussions, I heard from Lord, for instance, in our group, of the need to be able to connect the various groups so that they can learn from each other about their respective difficulties. And then, we were also discussing the need for sort of a megaphone, because I think that, many of this youth movement are very good at local activities, sometimes at national activities or even some international activities. But the question is, how do we build a global movement? And how do we build a network of network? How do we build a platform for youth voice to be heard, not only at the local and national level, but what about having youth voice heard at a global level? How would we build this? Can we co-design such a platform, hearing the needs of the various communities, and try to build on the consensus of what could make a difference? And I think what Lord was saying is, this need for learning from each other is, the very aim of this Learning Planet, and this idea of middle ground, where it's sort of the middle ground is between the institution, the upper ground, and all the underground activities that many of you are doing fantastically. And so, can we make sure that the upper ground institution, both national and global institutions, will start hearing the youth like never before? And so, how can we organize this? And what's nice about middle grounds is that they are not organized like an army, but more like a garden or a movement, where I think Nick was mentioning the importance of bees and cross-pollination. And so, every one of you has a fantastic tree and beautiful flowers and fruits. But what if, we could organize this be flowing from each other and starting to share the best ideas and the best ways to scale them. And so we are aiming at also building the digital infrastructure. And I like to call it a GPS of dreams and a GPS of projects, so that every one of us can, position ourselves into the project space and to the dream space, and we can start identifying, dream mates and project mates, so that we can learn from each other and start building together meaningful things that would be as impactful as possible. So thank you so much for all being with us. It's again just a start, but a very promising one, and I look forward to the next steps. Ton micro, Olivier.
Yeah, so thank you very much, and goodbye to everyone, and we hope to meet you very soon in our next meetings. And we will be announcing the launch of a circle also during the closing session of the Catalyst 2030 Change Week with all the partners recognized for this. So thank you, and see you all very soon.
And thank you all as well for organizing and facilitating these wonderful sessions. They've been really, really powerful, and yeah, I've just really loved being able to sit here and attend them. So thanks to you all as well.
Thanks for being with us.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Thanks so much.